Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Hamlet Collado, sales engineer at Vodia Networks. It's a beautiful day in Boston. The weather's just right, finally, and I hope that I can enjoy the weather after this webinar. Today, I'm going to show you how to set up and manage your call recording on the Vodia PBX, and also talk about a partner, Veriva and Call Cabinet, and how we can integrate with them. Okay, let's get started with an overview on how the Vodia PBX handles recording calls on the system and how easy it is to integrate with our recording partners. I hope at the end of this webinar you'll be able to learn how to set up automatic recordings on the system level and on the domain level as well. We'll be talking about the Vodia recording license, storage, also a multi-tenant recording, and SIP-URIs as well, which is kind of something new. Most session border controller vendors support that, so we'll be talking on that topic as well. So the benefits of a call recording with Vodia PBX. Once a call is recorded, it is stored on the recording directory and it is available for playback and download via the recording page on the PBX or on the user portal of that extension. The good thing about it is they can download it anytime and anywhere. Users can listen to the recording as many times as they like in order to review conversations or take notes. Also, your customer might want to evaluate a call for training purposes, keep accurate records, and also for compliance records. So this is a very big topic for hospitals, for call centers, for lawyers' office who want to review a recording and take notes of that record. So how do you get a recording license from Vodia? All Vodia editions come with on-demand recording. The automatic recording license can be obtained by purchasing the Vodia Enterprise Edition, which we offer in a choice of annual or perpetual license. If you would like to test this license, you can contact us at sales@vodia.com. The Vodia Hosted Edition already comes with automatic recording included. And if you would like to try a Hosted Edition, you can also contact us at sales@vodia.com. Operators are standing by, so I'll just wait. Okay, I'm just kidding. So let's go to the next slide. Let's talk about storage. So when storing your recordings, make sure you have plenty of space on the server. All recordings are saved in WAV format, so it's a pretty big chunk versus MP3, but we use WAV because it's the standard for the phones. They use 8 kilohertz, 16-bit mono, and that's enough enough compression for G711, G722, G729 to use that format for transcoding if needed. So that's why we're using WAV. So the good news is you have control on how you want to store your recording, whether it be locally or in the cloud or with our partners like Veriva and Call Cabinet. They can help provide you with a unique GUI interface so your customers can conveniently keep track of their recording. The advantages in offering recordings to your client is that they can access the recordings from anywhere and download it and play it back for up to 90 days or whatever you define on the admin settings. If space becomes an issue on the server, the Vodia recording setting provides the administrator control on how the recordings are filed or stored on the system. So this setting is found under admin settings, recording CDRs, and there you can control how long a recording is left on the system, whether it be defined by days, minutes, seconds. If you want to save space on your hard drive, you can also delete the CDRs with the recordings. So we have a lot of settings there that it can be very useful if you are down on hard drive space. All right, so let's go over the recording settings. Under the recording CDR, the administrator will be able to control the duration of the recording are kept on the system, defined by days, hours, and minutes. Maximum number of recording defines how many recordings are to be shown under the recording page per domain. So each domain has a recording page. Once you go to status, record calls. We give you a list of how many calls have been recorded within a span of 24 hours, or first thing in the morning. If you have 20 recorded calls, it'll show 20 recorded calls. If you have more than 20, let's say you have 300 recorded calls, then we'll have tabs that you can click on and review all of them. For some reason, you're not seeing all of your recorded calls. It's most likely the maximum number of recording system-wide. You have to set that to a higher number. In this case, I set it to 25,000. Also, the record location. Here, the Vodia uses variables to show the location of the recordings, if it's an inbound, outbound call, which domain made the recording, which extension, and also it is formatted in the WAV format. Okay. So also compressed recording. This is also available to you, but please keep in mind that if you compress a WAV file, it does tax the CPU just a little bit. So bear in mind when using this setting. Also, you can set the maximum duration of call for recording, and this is system-wide on the system itself. So you can set it to an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever service you're providing them as far as automatic recording is concerned. You have control here, and it's set how many hours you want a recording to be available for the client. So each domain has their own recording default settings. By default, if you have a recording license, or if you're using the hosted license, the recordings are set to no by default. So if you wanted to activate this, you're gonna have to go into the domain, advanced general settings, and here you can toggle yes or no on the accounts that you want to record on the system. Bear in mind, we have a setting called play a message before starting recording. If you set this to yes, the Vodia will play. This call will be recorded for quality assurance. So make sure either you turn that on or off. Otherwise, it would say it, and then the call will be recorded, or let the party know that the call is recorded. Also, you can record emergency calls, which is very important, just to keep track of things. The Vodia PBX can notify the caller that the call is being recorded. So we went over that. And if it is a multi-domain system, you must activate the recording per domain. So that's very important. If you're a multi-domain, a hosted multi-domain, make sure you turn these things on, because we won't do it by default. By default, so let's go over a recording location. By default, the Vodia PBX conveniently sets up the necessary parameters on the recording location. So if this setting is empty and you had turned on the recording on the domain level, we conveniently set that up for you, so you don't have to. Although you could change some of the parameters there if you wanted to see different information. Especially like called party, remote party. So the recordings will show that via the recording folder, or if you have a third party, for example, if you're using Veriva or call cabinet, these variables are useful for them because they collect what we send them, and they can show this information on a nice GUI interface. Just a note, if you use another directory, you must first create the directory before using it. If the recording location is left empty, the PBX will create the variables, which I mentioned. However, if you are using a different directory on your system, the PBX will not send that recording to that folder. It has to be relatively to the working directory of the PBX. In order to use a new folder, you need to create it first, and then tell it here on the record location, for example, /home/ call cabinet, and then the variables that follow thereafter. So Vodia also supports multi-tenant recording. The Vodia PBX creates a folder for each domain on the system and a subfolder for each extension in the respective domain. So this is pretty cool because if you're a multi-tenant, a hosted customer, each domain will have their own recordings. We nicely put this under the recording folder, and then when a recording or a on-demand recording is set, Vodia creates a domain folder for that company. All the recordings will be stored there, and it's per domain. So no longer the recordings will be no longer set, and all recordings will be shown. Now this is subdivided now for all the customers that you have on your hosted environment. Another question I get a lot from support is, how can my customer view their recordings? Well, this is a good question. Two things. You can either create a domain admin for them to log in to their personal domain, their own company, and then from there they can go to status and recorded calls, and then from there they'll be able to see all of the recordings pertain to that domain. Now, if the customer wanted to see recordings per extension, then you will have to create you would have to assign a web password for that extension, and then that customer has to log in as a user and use that web password to log into the user portal, and then from there under the recording tab they'll be able to listen to the recordings of that extension. So let's review a little bit about the user recording. So there's a couple things here. The user has to be logged in as a user, enable to see their recordings. Vodia can enable automatic recording for one or multiple users with just one click. When using automatic recording, the users can retrieve their recording via the user portal under advanced recordings. Users can see both inbound and outbound call recordings, and they can play them back and download them at any time. Also, the Vodia can store up to 1 million recordings system-wide, which can be controlled in the admin settings recording CDR. So, evidently you don't want to store 1 million recordings, but you have control as the administrator to limit how many recordings are to be kept on the system, or again, you can delete them in 30 days, 90 days, etc. On-demand recording. Every phone supports on-demand recording, whether it be via DTMF star code or a simple button on the phone. On the user portal, users can navigate to their presence page, and if they start a call, they can press or click on the blue button to initiate a on-demand recording. And this on-demand recording will be shown under the home voicemail tab of that extension. Now, when using a desktop, SIP desktop phone, if you want to record a conversation, you have to press *93, which is defined in the star code. That will begin the recording. Also will let the customer know that the call is being recorded. Again, if they press 94, that call will stop recording, and when it stops recording, you'll notably see an indication on the phone. It's one of the easiest way on-demand call recording solutions you can use. Most phones have a recording button on the soft button predefined in the phone GUI. If it doesn't have it, you're gonna have to toggle that on the desktop phone, and I believe SNOM phones have a record button, but I'm pretty sure every other desktop phone in the manufacturer probably has added this, and you have to go into the drop down and then choose that so they can show up in one of the buttons on the phone. But relatively, what happens is when you press *93, the PBX sends a SIP info message and lets the PBX know. The phone sends a SIP info message and lets the phone know to activate this button for recording. And then when you turn it off with *94, it toggles that button off and just lets the user know that that recording is turned off. So today, a lot of session border controllers use SIP-REX. We've added this feature on the Vodia PBX for users who want to have their own recording server. So the way it works is that the Vodia PBX establishes the recording session with the session recording server and sends a replicated media toward the SRS, which is the session recording server. The Vodia PBX is also responsible for delivering all metadata such as participant information, dial phone numbers, and caller ID. If you have your own session recording server, in order to use the session recording server, you have to define a SIP scheme in the recording location. What would happen is the PBX will send the recording to the session recording server, and then from there it'll start sending that data there. However, if the customer doesn't want to be recorded, the user can end that recording, and then we will send an error code to the session recording server to end that recording. However, the call will continue. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Veriva. They are our partners. Value partners of Vodia Networks. They provide a complete suite of call recording tools, very intuitive. They have call transcription, call analytics, call reporting, call recording, and reporting as well. Call tracking, very, very intuitive for call centers who want to keep track of their business and their agents and the performance of their agents. If you'd like a demo, please contact us at sales@vodia.com, and we can provide you a demo account so you can take your recordings to the next level and also show your customer how intuitive this solution can be for them. Call Cabinet has an application called Atmos. Provides unlimited storage of calls and other sensitive data without additional hardware or installation services. All calls get stored in 256-bit encrypted format with the original file preserved in its own original state and rotating encryption methodology that is unique and specified for each individual call. They're fully redundant, fully compliant. They have enhanced voice recording, and best of all, it's cloud-based, HTML5 driven. This makes all recordings 100% compliant with regulatory legislation, and you can easily integrate Call Cabinet with Vodia simply by going to the record location. They will give you a login portal, which we will add /home/call cabinet / the variables that are shown on the screen, and then from there Vodia will start sending recordings to Atmos, and then keeping track of them on this on a nice GUI presentation. So it's an added value. Veriva Call Cabinet. You can show this demo to your customers who want to have an intuitive way of checking their recordings and also keeping track of their workers, the quality of the workers, and each are unique. Each partner is unique, and they have special features as well. So I encourage you, if you want to try this out, send us an email at sales@vodia.com to get a demo from us. I want to thank you for joining us. It's a beautiful day in Boston, as I mentioned, and I'm about to go to lunch and enjoy the beautiful weather. If you have any questions, please contact us at sales@vodia.com, and hopefully we will meet next time on our next webinar. Thank you.